Now what I intend to do now is laws of indices. Now what are the various laws of the indices that would enable you to understand what indices are? Now indices is has about 7 laws, and if you understand these 7 laws very perfectly, it will enable you to be able to solve anything on indices. So I'm actually going to start with a law, the first law, that is a multiplication law. Now what this law simply says is when you have a raised to the power 3 times a raised to the power of 2. Now what you're supposed to do is you say a raised to the power of 3 plus 2. Now how did we get this? This times changes to plus, and this raised to the power is going to be added together. Now if I add 3 plus 2 together, it will give me a raised to the power of what? A raised to the power of 5. Now let me give you an example again. Assuming we have something like 3 raised to the power of 2 times 3 raised to the power of 4. Now what I'm going to do is take one of the base, which is 3, then raise it to the power of 2 plus 4, and that will give me 3 raised to the power of 6. Now what this multiplication law actually does is you have to add there, and what do you add? You add the powers. Are you getting it? So the second one is division law. Division law. Now what does division law says? When you have a raised to the power of 3 divided by a raised to the power of 2. Now when you see division, what you do is, just like when we see multiplication, what we do is plus. Now when you see division, what you do is minus. Are you getting it? So that is just the difference between them. So just take your a raised to the power of 3 minus 2 and add it together. That will be a, no, subtract it, that will be a raised to the power of 1. Now so if you have 3 raised to the power of 4 divided by 3 raised to the power of 2, now what you're going to do is 3 raised to the power of 4 minus 2, and that will give me 3 raised to the power of, when you say 4 minus 2, that will give you 2, then 3 raised to the power of 2. What this one simply means is 3 in 2 places, that is 3 times 3, and 3 times 3 will give you 9. Now what this one too means is 3 in 6 places, that is 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, that is in 4 places, times 3 again in 5 places, times 3 again in 6 places. So when you use your calculator, you definitely get what the answer is. So that is how that is. So this is just the first law and the second law. Now the third law of indices has to do with power laws. Now what do I mean by power laws? Now assuming you have something like 2 raised to the power of 3 into brackets raised to the power of 2. Now what this simply means is 2 raised to the power of 3 times 2 raised to the power of 3, meaning you need to say 2 times 2 times 2, then times again, then 2 times 2 times 2. Now this might actually be a long process. Now instead of doing all this, all you just need to do is multiply the raised to the power. Now instead of doing all this to get my answer, to say this is 8 times 8, then I now get 64. Instead of doing this, what I need to just do is 2 raised to the power of 3 times 2. Just multiply the raised to the power, that is 2 into 3 times 2, and that will give you 2 raised to the power of what? 6. Now when you say 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 2 again. Now 2 times 2 will give you 4. 4 times 2 will give you 8. 8 times 2 will give you what? 16. 16 times 2 will give you what? 32. 32 times 2 will give you what? 64. So your answer would actually be 64. So instead of doing it that way, do you get it? All you just need to do is, when you have something like this, just multiply these two together, which is the 3 and the 2 together. So instead of breaking it down, but if you know you can't really break it down, you would forget that 3 times 2. All you just need to do is just break it down the way I've actually broken it down. So the fourth law is actually referred to as the product power law. Now what does product power law says? When you have 3 PQ raised to the power of 2. Now what this simply means is, raise whatever is inside this bracket, raise it to the power of 2. Meaning 3 will be raised to the power of 2, then multiply by P raised to the power of 2, then multiply by Q raised to the power of 2. Now what this will simply give me is 3 raised to the power of 2 here means 3 times 3, that will give me 9. P raised to the power of 2 will be what? P raised to 2. Then Q raised to the power of 2 will give me what? Q raised to 2. And this is what my answer will be. So what this one simply says is, when you have A, B raised to the power of X, all you just need to do is raise to the power of A raised to the power of X and B raised to the power of X. That is the product power law. The fifth law is referred to as zero index, meaning anything raised to the power of 0 would always be 1. So if we say A raised to the power of 0, it will be 1. If we say 10 raised to the power of 0, it will be 1. If you say 1000 raised to the power of 0, it will be 1. If you say Y raised to the power of 0, it will be 1. So anything raised to the power of 0, if you even say something like this, 1 million raised to the power of 0, it will give you 1. So anything raised to the power of 0 would always give you 1. That is the fifth law, which is referred to as zero index. The sixth law is negative index. Now when you have something like this, if you have anything raised to the power of negative index, as in raised to the power of minus something, like 2 raised to the power of minus 3. Now what this minus simply means, you must have 1 all over something, then all over this 2 raised to the power of that 3, and when you do this, it will be 1 all over 2 in 3 places will give you 8. Now assuming we have A raised to the power of minus 5, then we have 1 all over A raised to the power of 5. So this would be my answer here. Then if we have 3 raised to the power of minus 2, what this simply means is 1 all over this 3 raised to the power of this 2. Then when you say 1 all over 3 times 3 will give you what? 9. Then when you have something like 5 raised to the power of minus 4, meaning 1 all over this 5, then raised to the power of the 4, then what this simply means is 1 all over. So when you multiply 5 in 4 places, that will give you 625. Then the 7th law is referred to as fraction index. When you have a raised to the power of half, what it simply means is find the square root of a and raise it to the power of 1. Now, assuming I have a raised to the power of 2 raised to the power of 3, what it means is find the cube root of a and raise it to the power of 2. Now, you can notice one thing. This is what I use in finding my roots. Now, it is square root here because this is 2. It is cube root here because this is 3. Now, let's try and take an example. Assuming I have 4 raised to the power of 3 divided by 2. Now, what this simply means, I'll need to use these 2 to find the square root of 4. Then I have to raise it to the power of 3. Now, the square root of 4 is 2. Then raised to the power of 3, that will give me 8. Meaning 2 times 2 times 2. That will give me 8. Now, let's look at something. Now, when you have something like this, 8 raised to the power of 4 divided by 3. Now, you need to find the cube root of 8 and raise it to the power of 4. Now, what I mean by finding the cube root of 8 is what number will I multiply 3 times that will give me 8? Now, that is 2. Then when I raise it to the power of 4, that will give me what? That will give me 16 rather. Sorry, that will give me 16. Then, that's just it.